Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, folks. Michael Zuber, one rental at a time. And I have a special guest for you today. I have a member of the number one investment team in Fresno, California, part of Jason Pritchard and Jen Pritchard's team. Morgan, how you doing, Morgan?
I'm good. I'm great. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being a part of this, having a conversation with someone you don't really know. So I appreciate you saying yes to this. Thank you very much.
Sure.
So,
I was excited.
So the first thing I got to ask is I've often referred to Jason and his team as the number one investors in Fresno. They do so much for so many. They've done amazing things over the last 4 or 5 years. He's in my second book. He's one of the chapters in my second book. So I got to ask, how the heck do you get his attention and how do you join a team like that? Because I have to imagine there's 1,000 people begging to get in his world. So how'd you do it?
No, that's a good question. Yes, there are definitely lots of people trying to get his attention. That's for sure. The way I got into his world was I honestly started following him on social media back in like early or late 2020, I want to say. Mm-hmm. And, I just followed him like a lot of people do and just kind of used him for inspiration and guidance on certain things within real estate. And then I was getting to the point where I really wanted to get more serious about my real estate license and like learning how to be a realtor and like learning the investment side of that world and all that. Mm-hmm. And I remember watching one of his stories one day and he posted basically an ad for a project management role. And he's like, what, I need this role to be filled. But this time around, I really want this person to be a licensed realtor. I want her to understand transaction coordinating. I want her to possibly be bilingual. And I'm like, oh, I can do all those things.
That's me. He's talking to me.
Yeah. And it was like, it scared the crap out of me because I'm like, oh gosh, I feel really drawn to reach out to him about this. Yeah. I don't know if I'm ready for something like that, but who knows if he would even hire me anyway. But I felt very drawn to reach out to him and say, hey, I would love to chat. I would love to interview for this role and see if we're a good fit. So that's what I did. And I went through 3 rounds of interviews and he liked me and I liked him. And yeah.
The rest is history, huh? Yeah. So there's a couple of subtle things that I want other people to pick up on, right? If there's someone out there that kind of speaks to you, an investor, in this case, Jason Pritchard, follow them on social media, get in their world. Yeah. And it's amazing, right? Jason does an amazing job of calling his shot, right? Recently, for example, Jason wants to give back in such a way. He did something I consider crazy, but he gets all the credit in the world. He said, hey, Fridays, I don't know what it was, like 11:30 from here to the end of the year, I'm going to have lunch at this space. Here's my link, book a time. And he's like, 48 hours later, I'm booked to the end of the year.
I know. It's crazy.
Yeah. So again, follow it because you just never know where that person's going to reach out. And it is an open invitation, right? You could try to slide in his DMs and do all, it's just the amount of stuff that's out there. It's not going to be, but if he reaches out and you're in that world, it's just, take your shot, right?
Exactly. Take advantage of it. Try to get in front of those people, even if it feels scary. It pays off. So,
yeah. So let's figure out who Morgan was before you joined Jason's team. Sounds like you were already licensed.
I was already licensed. So I actually got licensed in 2017. I was a busy mom of 2 children and we lived in LA at the time. My husband was working for Pepperdine. So we lived down south for a bit. And I just felt drawn to get my license because I was always interested in real estate. I liked following the market. My husband and I loved touring model homes all the time. So it seemed like a thing, huh? To do. Yeah. So I got my license and but at that time when I got it, I was honestly struggling with some postpartum depression and things like that made it hard for me to feel like I could just jump into starting a business at that point. So my license kind of sat on the back burner for a little bit, to be honest. And I did not start using it until we moved back to Fresno in 2019, late 2019.
Okay.
And I joined Edenhart Realty and Design, which is a local brokerage in Fresno. They're awesome, amazing people there. I love them. And that's where I learned transaction coordinating because I didn't have a lot of listings or any clients at that time, but she was offering some transaction coordinating training. And I was like, sure, I need to start somewhere.
Yeah.
So I did that. And I stayed with them for, gosh, I don't know, probably 8 months or so. And then that's when I saw that story from Jason saying that he wanted a new project manager. and he wanted her to understand transaction coordinating. So I was like, oh, well, I'm glad I felt guided to learn transaction coordinating, because, you know, he's looking for that. And so that was in when was that? Okay, if I've been with him for 16 months and we're in 2022 now, I guess that was early 2021.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah,
Yeah.
late 20, early 21.
Yeah.
Like that.
Right.
So again, the other thing that hopefully people are hearing from me hearing from you is, you always were reaching to add more value, right? You weren't sitting on your hands doing nothing. You move locations, you go from SoCal to the Central Valley, you join a firm, they offer some free training, you take it, you're always trying to expand. And then again, you're following people that inspire you. It's a local investor, which I'm sure makes a lot of sense. And then you get the opportunity via one of his stories to take your shot.
Yeah.
So,
exactly.
so you go through 3 interviews. I'm sure it was competitive. You get the nod.
Yep.
What's he have you do? So he brings you in, he puts you through the gauntlet. What are the first kind of projects you roll into?
Yeah. So he brought me in. I remember my first day of work with Jason was, he just kind of trained me in his office on some admin stuff. We went over kind of verbally what to expect when I'm running projects and whatnot. And then the second part of that day, he took me out in his truck and went and basically showed me around to a couple of projects that they were working on. And some of them were like really cool. I think went to 3 different ones. They were really cool. It felt just kind of like a day in the life of HGTV, to be honest. Contractors were all over the place, and you could see the design coming together. And then one of the projects he took me to was, a lot of people probably remember this. It was a guy called Larry's house.
I remember Larry's house. Yes. Larry, good old Larry.
Good old Larry. It was a scary house and a scary situation, and it was just crazy. He had been dealing with these tenants for months. Anyway, so he took me to Larry's house. I didn't go inside. He just kind of showed me, like, I think
Let me tell you the story about that one.
I think he wanted me to get an idea of, like, you know, there will be situations like this and projects like this that just kind of suck. So I just want to be upfront with you about that and kind of give you an idea of what that's going to be like. So that was my first day of training, and I loved it. It was great. It was very insightful and made me nervous too at the same time, but I was very committed. So
yeah. So in the beginning,
the second project, I can say, sorry, cut you off.
No, please.
The second project, excuse me, let me back up. The first project I actually managed from start to finish was one out in Sanger. And it was actually a perfect first project because it was just a lot of TLC, a lot of, paint, carpet, new flooring, new baseboards, new granite, stuff like that. And it was a fun one to design and whatnot. So that was pretty easy and a good experience. But then the second project that I had to jump into was this like bizarre country property out in Fresno. It's on 5 acres. It was these 2 houses with like an addition added on with like a huge barn / workshop, if you want to call it that, and like tons of chicken coops, and just the place was an absolute mess. And there were tenants there living there at the time that also were just adding to all the mess, and it scared me. But it was a great project to learn on, because I had to learn quick how to deal with that stuff and how to manage a project that big.
That's amazing. So it sounds like you were brought in, at least initially, because again, when you get added to a team like Jason, he's adding people so he gets time back, right? I mean, let's be very clear, right?
Yes.
So he was trying, because his job is to find deals, secure capital, all of that. So he was turning over the keys to the pipeline of projects, right? So once closed, kind of taking you out there saying, hey, this.
Exactly. And basically, and I just give him updates, and I check in with him when I need to. He asks me questions when he needs to, but it's really important for him to the person in this role has to be someone who can just take charge of that part of the business, because it's a big part and it's very time consuming. So it was very important to him, and it does free up a ton of his time.
Yeah. It's one of those parts of the business that lots of people get lost in.
Yeah.
Because it is the kind of the creative part, right? The design and all of those things.
It's the fun part. It's
very fun. But it also could distract you from so many other things. And again, if your lead flow, the funnel stops, that doesn't end well eventually. So turning this over to someone like you is paramount. So talk about the communication process. I don't know, is it a weekly update meeting? Do you guys have scheduled calls? Do you have daily kind of voicemail summaries, or talk about the whole management? You've been doing it. You did it for quite a while.
Sure. So what a day looks like in the communication side is basically every morning I check in with him. We use Slack with our team. So every morning I just give him a morning update at like 8 o'clock in the morning. I just say, hey, these are just the things I'm working on today, just to give him like a temperature check of like knowing where I'm at. And so he doesn't have to always be questioning, is this project moving along? Did she take care of that?
Right.
I kind of just always give him that reassurance and peace of mind every morning with that little update. And then we also have scheduled meetings every week with our team. Our project management meeting where we go over all of our projects and what needs to be done week by week. That's Monday at 11. And then on Tuesdays, we have our sales training with our sales rep and our acquisitions team. That is, that's at Tuesday. And then, so the second part of that sales meeting, it's an hour long. First 30 minutes is kind of going over where we're at with our numbers and all the sales stuff. And then the second part, we do a deal review, which is where we take a property that we've closed on recently or that we have in escrow right now. And we just break it down and we say, okay, this was our thought process on this deal. This is how the numbers played out. This is why we decided this was a good deal. And we actually invite a lot of agents at our brokerage, which we're with Real Broker. Agents who are with that brokerage get to come on and kind of listen in as part of a training for them if they want to. So that's kind of fun.
Yeah.
And then we do on Thursdays, we do what's it called? Sales training. And that's where basically we listen to a live call that Jade, our sales acquisition rep, has done recently. And we kind of analyze it, break it down. And then Jason will typically call that seller back live right there and see if he can put together a deal. And often he does.
Yeah, this is why Jason is the very best.
That's right.
Yeah. There's so again, what I'm hoping people are getting from Morgan again is a lot of people, I can't tell you, I think probably the most question I get is, how do I get part of your world, or how can I help you, or all of those things, right? So you're walking through how you've done it, but you're always adding value. You're always growing. And one thing about Jason and all the other investors out there is they will let you grow, right? You are not in the same role I'm going to guess you're in when you started. Your responsibilities have grown as you've added value. Is that a fair assumption?
That's 100% fair. Yes.
So let's talk about that evolution. Where'd you start? Where are you? And then we'll get into video number 2.
So I started as a project manager and doing some admin work for him. And as he started to see, that I did well with that stuff, and I was very, I took charge and tried to be as valuable as I could to him. Over time, I want to say probably 5 or 6 months in, actually, no, probably like 3 or 4 months in, he started to give me the listings. So not only would I get to manage the projects, but because I'm a licensed realtor, I got to list them and just, disposition them on the market after they were all renovated. So that was a really cool part that he allowed me to start taking on. And that was a big, valuable piece for me and my ability to grow within the company. And he was like, yes, go,
Take it.
go, girl.
Again, right? He's what hopefully people hearing here is you can get in other people's world. You just grow, add value, ask questions.
Ask questions. Yes.
Yeah. Ask questions, but just keep being value add. This is amazing stuff. So what does the future hold for Morgan? What are you going to be adding your own real estate to your personal portfolio? What's going on? Where are you going?
So I would love to start. Honestly, I'm in the kind of in the beginning stages, of mentoring and coaching, and I have 30-minute Zoom calls every week that people can book for totally free, and they can ask me any questions they want to. And excuse me, my voice. And we can go over project management questions, realtor questions, investment stuff, whatever you want to talk about, honestly, that would be of value to you. I do those calls weekly. So that's something that I do offer and that I'm hoping to grow out as I grow.
Nice. Now, can you give me the link so I can put it in the show notes, or
totally.
What is the link? Is it like
it's a Calendly link. So I'll send it to you and they can just click on it and schedule whatever dates are available.
There you go. Text me and I'll add it to the show notes below. So get ready for lots of people hitting your calendar
Perfect.
Calendly link? Whatever.
Calendly. Yeah.
That thing. All right,
Yeah.
Margaret, thank you very much for episode 1. We will have episode 2 shortly. Thank
You're
you.
so welcome. Thanks.